This will be the third time that I have recorded this video. Not because anything that I said before wasn't accurate or I was spitting extra hyperbole or anything like that. It's because the story keeps changing. CNN is, well, it's a cesspool, as we all know, but at the same time, it's kind of in flux in very uncomfortable ways for people that work there. Of course, we have an in-depth dive into CNN from its inception and beyond that's going to be coming out here very shortly in the future. But for right now, understand this. With Warner Media and Discovery merging, things are in flux in the craziest way. And as you've probably seen the headlines, this merger, which closed Friday and likely starts trading Monday under its new symbol, is going to be somewhat interesting. Warner Media Discovery, or Warner Brothers Discovery as it's going to be coined. But what's going to happen with CNN? And that's the rub. Let's dive into it. Here we go. Let me take you back just about a month ago or so, or maybe a little longer than a month ago, to February 7th, because an article that was published in various places in various ways, but most specifically on the Daily Wire, says, CNN guest, I would be a little nervous if I was at CNN. Well, I would have been nervous before what was happening, but following the departure of CNN President Jeffrey Zucker, the network's new owners are planning a shakeup that could leave CNN's opinion hosts feeling concerned and nervous. No kidding. At least about their future. A guest told Brian Stelter on Sunday. During the exchange, Stelter said that CNN personalities found calls from incoming shareholders for the network to return to unbiased news offensive and disturbing, which means they have no intention of going back to fair and balanced news. Zucker's resignation came as CNN is pending sale. Of course, it's already a done deal at this point. And you can see one of its primary shareholders coming out and saying some very intriguing statements, such as, I would like to see CNN evolve back to the kind of journalism that it started with and, actually have journalists, which would be unique and refreshing, end quote. That was from Liberty Media chairman John Malone. And guess what? He's not wrong. And he's been pushing big on this lever for quite some time. Of course, many CNN staffers found that to be offensive, said Stelter. Jeff Zucker found that to be quite disturbing because he's looking at that thinking, what is Discovery's key shareholder going to do with CNN? Zucker, who took the helm in 2012, directed CNN's emergence into an openly liberal, anti-Trump network and encouraged hosts to vent their political views. Now, let me tell you, John Malone isn't playing around, and he has a lot of influence. Now, all of these things happened towards the beginning of February, and let me say it this way, there's more trouble to come. Why? Because CNN Plus just launched, and let me tell you, it wasn't received very well. In fact, even New York Magazine, under their Vulture title, I guess they own a lot of stuff anyway, they came out and said, CNN Plus has Quibi vibes. That doesn't sound good. Of course, CNN created the very concept of cable news, according to this article here, back in the 1980s. Or actually specifically in 1980, immediately disrupting decades of network TV dominance of video journalism. Now, of course, CNN Plus is not exactly a linear replacement for CNN. In fact, in no way does it do that, and that's part of the problem. And the old article in Vulture goes on to, well, basically explain it in various ways. In fact, we pull up another article from Business and Politics from BPR, and it says, CNN employees squirm over report newly launched CNN Plus is already planning job cuts. Wow. Well, that's from a pretty niche magazine, right? That's not from something that's considered more mainstream. Hang on. We go to the Daily Mail. CNN refuses to deny a report that there will be job cuts as soon as May at CNN due to low subscriptions just a day after the streaming service launched. This is no lie. They're offering steep discounts for a lifetime if you sign up with CNN Plus, and it didn't inspire anybody to sign up. In fact, they refuse to deny a report that the company is bracing for layoffs as soon as May due to subpar subscription signups. Fox Business Network's Charles Gasparino reported on Wednesday, this is going back to, about a week ago or so, that CNN Plus, a $120 million venture, holy cow, that just recently launched, is already failing and may not survive on its own for much longer. CNN Plus employees are bracing for layoffs, possibly as soon as May, amid projections of lackluster sales of the streaming channel. This is all in quotations. CNN employees say new streaming channel could be merged with a larger Discovery Plus as early as May unless subscriptions pick up. And reportedly, they haven't. So we move on to something that, should also concern everybody, going back, all the way to March 30th. So very, very recently, right? Very, very recently, saying CNN's original host on Major Difference, that was, I guess, a show, 42 years later, says, I used to anchor at CNN, now I just yell at CNN. And you know what? Interestingly enough, that was on a show with Brian Stelter, talking about the launch of CNN Plus. Moving on from there, defection disaster. This is from Radar Online, another resource, saying irate Chris Wallace has meltdown over Jeff Zucker, Allison Gullis scandal, said to be at war in DC bureau with Jack Tapper. It doesn't sound good over there, does it? No, it really, really doesn't. And finally, the most important aspect of any of these things is that CNN Plus or minus is a headline from Real Clear Politics. The CNN Plus ad features former Fox News anchor Chris Wallace, who has a new CNN Plus show, walking toward the camera. Wallace utters one sentence, "We have a lot to talk about." That was the promo for the show. And that's why, in Real Clear Politics' opinion, that essentially, CNN's phone-friendly streaming platform is bound to fail. You getting the vibes that it's kind of a Quibi, rehash, only in news? I'm there already. And you're not going to have a lot of older people tuning into this either using that app. But hey, we're not done. The absolutely most important article we get to now is the report that the new CNN boss rips into Cancer, Brian Stelter's failing show. This came on April 6th, so very, very recently. The boss of CNN's incoming parent company is taking aim at Brian Stelter. John Malone, the biggest shareholder, the name I mentioned at the very beginning of this video segment, harshly criticized Stelter in an informal meeting of the company's executives, according to a report. This is after his public statements a couple of months ago, or a month and a half ago, or fairly recently anyway. Discovery is completing a merger with Warner Media. It's already done as far as we're concerned. Media reporter and former Washington Examiner editor John Nicosia broke news of Malone's words for Stelter on Tuesday, just a couple days ago. Malone ripped Stelter as a cancer, criticizing his close relationship with disgraced former CNN president Jeff Zucker and accusing his show of being a failure. Holy cow. And again, the tweets are out there if you want to go find them, all the way back on April 5th. The ratings for Stelter's reliable sources have been dismal in the aftermath of the Orange Man era, with the weekend host largely focused on criticizing conservative media and the former president instead of scrutinizing the current administration. That surprises no one. It's pretty much all of the other news agencies doing the same thing. Malone has spoken openly of his desire to return CNN to a news model in its content, a turnaround from the partisan leftist commentary that the channel became associated with during the Donald Trump presidency. I would like to see CNN evolve back to the kind of journalism that it started with and actually have journalists which would be unique and refreshing. Again, that goes all the way back to that CNBC interview in November This has been boiling for a long time. Nicosia previously reported that some of the most partisan hosts at CNN were eyeing alternative employment in advance of the, at that point, still incomplete merger. You can guess that Acosta, Stelter, Lemon, Darcy, see ya. Lemon's already in a lot of trouble because of some alleged inappropriate actions with somebody. This thing is a sinking ship, and the only way to right it, the only way to fix it, as far as their biggest investor is concerned, is to turn it back into a pure news organization. And I have to say, I agree 100%. Will they be able to do that quickly in order to rebound ratings? Quite possibly. Would be interesting to be able to look at, well, some balanced reporting for a change coming out of CNN. Would be great. I'd like to see some unbiased news. I would love to see that anywhere. And I'm not gonna leave Fox News out of it. I'd like to see unbalanced news everywhere, anywhere. It would be lovely. But what do you think? You think this is much ado about nothing? Do you think where there's smoke, there's fire? Do you think that it's quite possible that the people that I named will be looking for jobs in the near future? I think there's going to be a lot of pink slips, as we've already seen near the completion of the merger itself. But feel free to leave your comments down in the section below, and maybe we can have a dialogue about it. With that being said, be sure to support other independent video and content creators here on this platform, wherever you're watching this video. The algorithms aren't necessarily designed for smaller content creators. They're focused on the corporate content creators who, again, don't really seem to drive the numbers of some of the bigger independents. That bothers the corporate content creators, and therefore, they've worked with big tech to shake it up a little bit and make it somewhat unbalanced. Does that sound familiar? Somewhat like the last story we were talking about? Maybe so. But do support those other independent folks out there by clicking the subscribe button, hitting the like button, sharing their content, and of course commenting, because it drives engagement, and that's a big plus. Of course, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time,
thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.